Never chose me. He never cut things off with her. He never stopped having feelings for her, and I should have known it. He should have picked her to begin with. He should have never involved me in the situation.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know, it's me, it's your girl Kyrie, coming at you with a new video. So today we're going to be talking about Love is Blind Season 6, Episode 10 and 11. So let's get right into the video. So in Episode 10, the couples are meeting the families. So we basically left off with the whole Laura finding out that Jeremy was with Sarah Ann until 5:30 in the morning. She had Jeremy's tea that he was with Sarah Ann until 5:30 in the morning, and it was not in the parking lot of the bar. So it was near where Sarah Ann lived. So yeah. So we see Jeremy talking to his mom, and he's basically explaining the situation to his mother, and his mother was just basically like, well, you're lucky that it wasn't me, because I would have been waiting for you until you got home, all that and the third. And I'm just like, realistically, you can't be out all night talking to another girl who you happen to be, who once dated in the same experiment that you basically met your fiance in. So I'm just like, with no explanation, but with just a sense of location. Like, Jeremy was in the wrong for doing that. And I mean, I feel like, it's very lousy to say, like, you've been talking to this one person until 5:30 in the morning. Like, even if you didn't do anything with that person in an explicit type of way, it's still disrespectful to do. Like, you should have been like, okay, it's getting late. I gotta get back home to, X, Y, and Z, you're your fiance, stuff like that, before you stay out until 5:30, getting home almost 6 o'clock in the morning, and just be like, well, I was just talking to this one girl. Like, that's not a good explanation, and that's, grounds for anybody to be upset, you know what I'm saying? So definitely Laura was right to be upset, and his mother was like, yeah, you were lucky it wasn't me. Then we see Clay, we see AD with her mother, and, Clay is supposed to meet AD's mother, and, they're having a conversation, and once again, Clay is bringing up, his fears of cheating on AD, his parents' past, relationship. They've been married for 24 years, but his father still cheated on his mother. He's just worried about that whole relationship, I mean, we later got revealed that it was year 7 that he cheated on Clay's mother. So out of the 24 years, your father started his infidelity to your mother in year 7 out of 24 years. Like, that's wild. Clay meets AD's mother, and, he's once again working, his schedule is working, he's very busy, AD was like, she had everything set up for him for the night before, but he never made it home. And, she's finally seeing him at, when he finally meets her mother for the first time. They meet, he seemed like pretty decent, great impression on AD's mother. One thing about Clay, he's a very good talker. I mean, obviously he's a tech sales guy, so he can sell himself. Like, he's really a good talker. But Clay is, self-sabotaging his relationship with AD with, bringing up that, oh, he doesn't want to cheat on her, he's just getting the affairs because, his father cheated, Like, once again, AD's mother had to basically speak sense into him again, tell him that you're self-sabotaging, in the relationship with your father and mother, there were some good parts in those relationships. That's why they kept going. So therefore, instead of looking at the bad, try to take from the good parts of that relationship and do better with what of your father and your mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't make the same mistakes your parents made or, your father made. Try to do better. Don't follow the cycle if that's what you're saying. If you're saying cheating is genetic, why don't you break that cycle? Like, why are you being self-sabotaging and doubting yourself? Like, what's wrong with you? So, like I said, Clay's a good talker. He can sell himself really well, and I can understand why AD feels a type of way about him. I was a bit, perplexed when AD was like, she told her mother that she can follow Clay, that she will follow Clay off a cliff without a parachute because she knows that he will be there to catch her. And I'm like, girl, follow God, follow Jesus. Like, you following Clay without a parachute? Like, no. Like, following somebody off a cliff without a parachute. Yeah, 80, girl, like, her mom was on mute because she was like, I never heard you say that. She's like, I never heard you say that before. And her mom was on mute because I don't think she approved of that statement or that sentence. But she was just like, she really, her daughter really likes this man. This man is presenting himself to be really well, respectable, but he's still self-sabotaging. She talks, a lot of sense into, AD and Clay, and just seems like, if Clay stays on, the path that he is speaking himself into, then, the relationship can work out very well between AD and Clay. Then we meet Jimmy's parents. Jimmy and Chelsea, have a parent meeting with Jimmy's parents. They chat. It seems very well. His parents were together for 43 years. They're still together. And, they seem to like Chelsea for Jimmy, and, all is well. Next thing you know, we get back to Chelsea and Jimmy back at their shared apartment, and Chelsea's talking about how she didn't like the fact that Jimmy went out to his friend's birthday, little get together at a little bar, had one drink, and came straight home. And he was only away from Chelsea for an hour and a half, give or take. And Chelsea was like, when you were in the pods, you said you don't go out a lot, you don't party a lot, It was his friend's birthday. He went out to make appearance, have one drink, and returned home. That was it. Just saying, having a happy birthday with one of his good friends. She had a problem with it. She's like, you lied to me. You're going out to party, have fun, Then she mentions that this girl named Mackenzie from the pods said that, why are you not with your man? Like, your man is out. Where are you? And basically, she texted that told that to Chelsea. And so Chelsea felt embarrassed because she's like, Mackenzie from the pod, saw Jimmy out at this bar or club, and I felt embarrassed because she's like, where are you? Your man's out. So that, I guess, her feeling insecure and embarrassed because a girl recognized Jimmy without Chelsea hanging around with his friends and So she felt some type of way, brought it up again. So she was like, Jimmy, who never met Mackenzie, was just like, I don't even know who Mackenzie is. Like, what are you talking about? Anyways, she then later proceeds to say that, oh, you were out with Jess. Like, Jimmy's like, no, I haven't been out with Jess. A little preview clip that we keep on seeing between, Chelsea yelling at Jimmy, where she's like, oh, you did this, whatever, did an act of infidelity. And I guess Jimmy off camera told Chelsea that one of the two girls that he, announced that was one of his good girlfriends, he actually had a time with one of them. So he displayed that information to Chelsea, as showing an act of honesty, whatever, being truthful. So he told Chelsea not to display that on camera, just to keep that off camera, So Chelsea is just like, who do you text every day? Who do you call every day? Who do you hang out or whatever every day? So basically trying to, I guess, goad him into saying that is one of the two girlfriends that Jimmy has that, he messed around with at one time and point in his life before he got engaged.
Oh my goodness. If you're fishing for me to tell you that I text my girlfriends all the time.
I see.
If you want to sign up with me, you have to sign up for all my friends too.
It's a respect thing, babe. It's a respect.
I'll take a step back from hanging out with girlfriends if that's what you want. You haven't asked me.
Yes, I have, but you apparently haven't fucking listened.
When? Tell me right now. Do you want me to take a step back?
Of course I do, and
okay.
I told you that.
I'm not willing to take a step back.
So she's feeling insecure once again. So Jimmy was like, you never once told me that, you don't want me to hang around with my girlfriend. I told you that. She said she was okay when they met the girlfriends. When she met Jimmy's girlfriend, she's like, oh, I'm okay with it, I have guy friends that I, was with before, and we're still good friends to this day, Even comparing herself to Jimmy's situation. Now she's saying she doesn't like it. She feels insecure after Jimmy basically explained that one of the two, we don't know which one, he actually had a relations with. So she was like, you overstepped boundaries because I asked you not to speak about this on camera and you proceeded to. Then she was like, I don't feel like you love or care about me, you don't show me affection, And it's just like, he just like, we just met my parents the day before, and now you're telling me you don't feel like I show you love and affection. Like, that hurt his feelings. He was just like, well, if you don't think I love you, then I don't think we should be in that relationship. So he even called Chelsea out. He was just like, well, you're drunk. So if you're drunk, then I can, let this go. But if you're really saying that you don't think I show you any love and affection, then I don't think we should continue with this marriage. So he kind of had it up to here. Chelsea tried to come back and be like, oh, don't leave, stay, But, Chelsea is doing the most. She's been doing the most since episodes, since the beginning. Since my beginning review, I've been telling you that Chelsea is insecure. She needs way too much reassurance. Like, Jimmy called her out countless times, like, you're clingy, you need to relax. Like, I show you and tell you how much I love and care about you. Like, you need to chill. And then now you're like, after him revealing that he had a relationship with one of his girls, even the fact that you said that you're really close to one of your exes, your ex-guy friends is one of your best friends, you're having Jimmy feel like he's a bad person, I guess for, keeping in contact and like having one of his, girlfriends, as one of his good friends. Anyways, guess a day went by or whatever, Chelsea came back to their shared apartment and she apologized for how she went at Jimmy. She basically, apologized, said that, they both crossed the line, because I guess they went at each other's character. And then, he was just like, if we want to make it to work, they can make it work. So she was just like, next time when things get hard, don't like leave the relationship or like whatever. He put up with a lot. So I feel like him just saying like, if you don't feel like I care about you or love you, that he should exit, not proceed with getting married to you. I don't feel like that was a bad thing for Jimmy to do. Like, that's a very reasonable, a reasonable decision. I feel like that was very reasonable for Jimmy to say. They hashed it out, they made up, and they're on board with getting married again. Johnny and Amy, they met Amy's father, and, it was a nice meeting. And, later on, Johnny asked for Amy's, hand in marriage to her father. And, he granted it. And, he got, Amy's father's blessing to get married. So that was good. It was really nice. I feel like Amy and Johnny's like relationship, you know, despite the whole birth control situation, it's like the best relationship out of the whole situation. Later on, we get to the whole, you know, get together with bringing up basically most of the people from the pods. So we finally see Jeremy, Laura, they brought Mackenzie and Jess, AD, Clay, Sarah Ann, Trevor. They brought them all back. So this is episode 11. This is basically the premise of the end of episode 10 into episode 11. So Jeremy and Laura haven't talked for 3-4 days. From what I gathered, Jeremy, I guess, tried to reach out to Laura, and I guess he wanted to send her flowers, and he needed, you know, Laura's address because like they never went to Laura's place or whatever. So she was like, no, you don't need to know my address, da 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 da. And I guess he said that, Laura said that, I guess she had Jeremy in her phone as fiance, but now it's just Jeremy, and I guess some other nasty things was said through text, whatever. That's something what Jeremy said. So with that being said, he was just like, he tried to reach out, he tried to work on the relationship, but Laura never gave him an inkling of trying to fight for a relationship. I mean, Jimmy was trying to like speak to him and like try to say like, you know, him and Chelsea are going through hardships, but you know, they're fighting for that relationship because he went through the same thing with Chelsea. So you're trying to give him some like word of advice or whatever, just trying to handle the relationship. But I guess Jeremy was just like, you know, not handling it or not having it. He was saying like, you know, you guys are both a bit hard-headed, so maybe, you know, he's just trying to like talk some sense to Jeremy, and Jeremy was just like, I tried and she didn't give me nothing. So with that being said, like, it's kind of done with them. Laura, she was just like, what she said to the girls was that Jeremy didn't really speak to her. But I'm just like, you know, with what we know outside of the show about, you know, most of the cast members, you know, a lot of these cast members are a bit fraudulent, you know, case in point. But during the show, if the guy reached out to you, sent text, and you guys had like exchange of words back and forth, then how are you gonna tell the girls that he never reached out or like never really spoke to you or whatever? Like, I mean, you could like communicated a bit if you wanted him to fight for a relationship. Because it is a two-way street. Like, he was in the wrong for sure, and I guess his way of trying to like apologize for it was, I guess, through an act of service of sending flowers or whatever, da da da. Anyways, let's move it on. Let's carry on. We see Chelsea and Trevor. They have a chat. They're basically talking, and you know, Trevor is another fraud. We know outside of the show, outside of what's being shown to us. Yeah, no, he's another fraud, and he was just basically asking Chelsea, like, you know, if things would have been different, you know, once again, if he would have went first and, you know, had a date before Jimmy proposed to Chelsea, da 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 da. And, you know, Chelsea didn't really have an answer to why she picked Jimmy, just like how Jeremy didn't really have an answer to Sarah Ann of why he picked Laura. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Continuing on, Sarah Ann shows up. Before we get to Sarah Ann's part, Jess and Jimmy have a chat, and you know, they have a chat. They hugged first when they first met. They have a chat, basically, which is like, you know, Jess basically saying, well, when I read you my letter, you were dead silent. You don't say nothing to me, and you know, that kind of, your silence was very loud. And then, you know, just basically trying to like give everything off her chest about like what's going on. She still said that she still has feelings for him. He says that, like, in reality, you know, Jess was his number one, da-da-da-da. I mean, he still feels solid with Chelsea, so at the end of the day, he still feels confident in his decision with Chelsea. So, it is what it is. Sarah Ann shows up. So when Sarah Ann shows up, everyone's just kind of like, you know, you're kind of like, you know, like, we don't really want you around here, like, because at the end of the day, here's this. everybody knows that Laura and Jeremy were engaged. You know, this is an engaged person, and your message was good at the beginning, but towards the end, you basically said, if the door is open or whatever, you know, let's talk, da da da. You knowing that Jeremy is engaged to Laura, you kind of crossed the line, because, you know, this is a person who's now in a committed relationship. What seems to be a committed relationship. You know what I'm saying? So people are trying to say, like, you cross the line there by sending that in your message. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't want to take Jess off the hook, because Jess also wanted to talk to Jimmy. Like, she's on candid camera talking to Laura about, you know, still having feelings for Jimmy, da 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 da. And I'm just like, you got Laura basically kind of encouraging Jess to speak or reach out to Jimmy. You know, I don't think Jess ever did. But then you have Laura being mad at Sarah Ann for, like, expressing her feelings and kind of, I guess, reaching out to Jeremy in a sense. Now, you know, she should not have said, oh, if the door's still open, da da da, let's talk, da 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 da. Because now you're reaching out to, you're trying to go after an engaged guy that you know that's engaged. So that's where you cross your line. 80 tries to speak to her, basically say, like, don't you think that's a little bit weird? Like, he's together, da da da, don't you think that's a bit weird? So Sarah Ann was just saying, like, you know, I don't really think that's weird. I have feelings too. I have to express my concern, da 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 da.
My sentence, or can I? You know she's engaged to this man and not giving them a fighting chance.
Hang on, if a man steps out there, that's not my fault. That's his fault.
He did not choose you.
Okay.
So for you to then circle back when he made his choice.
Yeah, I didn't fight for him in the pods, and I probably should have. It makes me look like a really piece of shit person, but I can tell you that I maintain the fact that I was not with ill intent.
At the very end of the day, you knew that they were engaged.
I did know, but I also, again, my feelings deserve to be heard.
I'm not here to interrogate you, but
I feel like you are interrogating me, though, kind of, you know?
If you feel interrogated, that's on you.
Is it?
It is.
So at the end of the day, it was like an agree to disagree type of situation where, I guess, you know, 80 was trying to let her know that you're weird for saying that in your message, to where Sarah is like, well, at the end of the day, Jeremy is the one who's in the committed relationship, so he should be the one who's held accountable, not her. Which she does have a point, because he is the one in the relationship. He should be the one held accountable. But it was in an agree to disagree situation, to where Sarah Ann still feels like she's right to send that message, you know, wholeheartedly, to express her feelings to Jeremy. Because once again, Jeremy did not have a clear reason of why he picked Laura. Like, it was just a feeling. Just like how, you know, Chelsea didn't really have a clear feeling of why she went with Jimmy, besides, you know, Jimmy being the one to ask her first to, you know, propose to her or whatever. So at the end of the day, Jeremy and Sarah Ann have a chat, and they go out to the deck. You know, she's expressing the whole situation to Jeremy.
You're painting me out to be this person that I'm this floozy that goes after men that are engaged. I'm a realist.
You're not that person.
I'm a realist. I was just as much a part of this as anybody fucking else.
100%.
And I had real feelings, and they are valid. And I'll be damned if somebody sits here and they can't come back to fucking reality to realize the truth about it.
I 100% agree with everything you're saying.
I've been 100% true to myself, true to who I am.
She doesn't really care. She just doesn't like how she's being perceived, whatever. Jeremy and Laura have a last chat, have a last conversation, and to where, you know, it didn't go anywhere.
I did come into this with the best intentions.
Well, I definitely don't fucking believe that.
And he basically told Laura that he had her stuff already packed up. So it's just like, if you had her stuff already packed up, then that conversation that they're gonna have at the picnic was not gonna go anywhere, because that looks even worse. Also, with the fact that Sarah Ann told Jeremy that he was going to break up with Laura, or end things or cut things off with Laura. So I'm just like, that's what she told AD. So I'm just like, when did he have time to tell her that he was going to break things up with Laura? Because that's where I'm just like, oh, okay, he really did not want to be with Laura. One thing I would say, despite the whole Sarah Ann situation, Laura had a lot of things to work on in that relationship with Jeremy, though. Even though Jeremy is also a fraudulent dude, she had a lot of things to work on in that relationship. She was very, I guess, passive aggressive with Jeremy. You know, there was a lot of superficial things that she didn't want Jeremy to do or didn't like that Jeremy was doing. With that being said, like, even her own parents and family was kind of like realizing, like, you need to chill, you need to calm down, like, with how you treat or talk to your supposed significant other. And yeah, with that being said, you know, even though, you know, Jeremy's in the wrong, Laura had a lot to work on in that relationship with Jeremy. So, I mean, it did not work out. That's another engagement failed. But yeah, girl, it wasn't, even if you did get married to Jeremy, you had to fix up a little bit. Because, no, it wasn't like, it wasn't going. So then, after all of that has happened, a lot of the previews really kind of just fell flat because it's just like, oh, that was it? Oh, okay. We're continuing on. We move closer to the, you know, getting the dresses and the suits fitted, da-da-da-da. So we move on to that scene, get to the dresses and suits, and then we get to their final dates. Adi and Claire are designing, you know, the Air Forces for the wedding. You know, Jimmy and Chelsea are like engraving their names in ice. You know, Amy and Johnny, they're having a little camping, little outdoor situation. You know, Adi and Clay had a little date night. You know, Chelsea and Jimmy went out to, you know, an amusement park where Jimmy, you know, went as a kid. And, you know, it just seems like everything's going pretty well. Until Jimmy asked Chelsea, do you see yourself having an answer at the altar? And then Chelsea kind of goes silent. She doesn't really have an answer. She goes silent. And I'm just like, okay, now what's going on here? I thought you really wanted to marry Jimmy. I thought you want Jimmy to show you more love and affection, da-da-da-da. And now when Jimmy asks you a point-blank question, do you see yourself having an answer at the altar, and you don't know with 3 days away, that's not right. You know, everything seems to be going pretty well for Adi and Clay, but I feel like Clay just gonna have a lot of doubt at that altar, and where he's just gonna disappoint Adi. That's what I feel. I feel like Johnny and Amy, they're doing very well. I mean, despite the whole contraceptive situation, they were the best couple. You know, in the episode, I guess Chelsea jokingly or whatever said that Johnny and Amy were the best couple, where Jimmy kind of took a little offense to. But I'm like, realistically, they are the best couple. Without even, you know, consummating their engagement, they still have the best, you know, physical and mental connection, you know, with each other, you know, and communication goes really well. Like, you haven't heard they have we have a big fight, we had a huge fight, or we had a huge disagreement. And it's just like, you know, despite the whole contraceptive talk, which later on Amy then says, well, she's most likely leaning to that after, you know, they get married. So I'm just like, at the end of the day, you know, Amy and Johnny are really going well. Yeah, that's episode 10 and 11. So Chelsea and Jimmy once again had another argument to where we don't know what they're gonna do. I feel like, surprisingly, despite being in a love triangle with just Chelsea and Jimmy, and even seeing Jess, Jimmy still, you know, still said, you know, Chelsea is his number one. He still loves Chelsea. He didn't waver. He didn't switch up or anything. He still, you know, continued to be like, this is who I want to be with. This is who I want to spend the rest of his life with, potentially with. And he didn't switch up. He didn't like, oh, sway back and forth or did it with something like what Jeremy did or whatever. It was besides Chelsea sabotaging that relationship with, her insecurities, Jimmy was still want to pursue things with Chelsea. And I just feel like, you got to give Jimmy his 0.5s, because at the end of the day, he had to put up with all that with Chelsea, and still at the end of the day, he's still making it work or try to make it work. And Chelsea's the one being, wishy-washy. Clay and AD, AD despite the 100,000 red flags and warnings that Clay is giving her, she's still like, I'm with it, Clay, 100%, da-da-da-da. I'm just like, despite his self-sabotaging, if he wasn't all self-sabotaging about, being afraid to cheat on AD, that relationship could potentially work. Like, truly and honestly, despite his self-sabotage with this whole, I'm gonna cheat, da-da-da-da, that could be a really good, decent relationship between them. I just feel like that doubt and sabotage is gonna ruin the whole situation. And it's just like, what could you do? Like, you tried, and he's still with the self-sabotage. Johnny and Amy, there's really not much you can ask for with them. I feel like they're probably gonna be our potential only yes at the altar. Which, you know what? At the end of the day, we have at least 3 weddings, we have at least 3 weddings. So that's more than what last season gave us. So let's start there. But I feel like Johnny and Amy might be our only wedding to come out of this. And you know what? It is what it is. I also want to say that they had AD and Clay had a little chit chat, and he was just basically saying like, why does this wedding date have to define our relationship? And it's just like, you signed up for a show. Like, AD had to tell him, like, you signed up with these timelines, with these things. Like, you knew what you put yourself into. You don't come on the show and say like, well, I can date you after. Like, you knew you signed up to get engaged, to get married. You know what I'm saying? So AD basically said, if you say no at the altar, then I probably would not see myself wanting to date you after this. So it's basically a yes or a redunzo, which I feel like she has every right to be, because I'm just like, what are you talking about? Oh, why does this date have to be significant? But other than that, that was episode 10 and 11. It was a bit drama filled, but we move. But anyway, guys, if you like the video, comment down below, let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns, and subscribe to my channel. Subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Peace.